As an orthopedic surgeon who has operated on over 14,000 seniors with fractures and bone deterioration, there is something critically important that needs to be shared right now. Everything mainstream health advice has told about calcium for bone strength after 65 is dangerously incomplete. Hospitals across the country are seeing seniors who drink milk religiously, take calcium supplements every single day, and still show up with bones so brittle they fracture from simple movements like reaching for a coffee cup or stepping off a curb. The global calcium supplement industry is worth over $12 billion annually, and these companies profit every single time someone believes swallowing calcium pills alone will protect their skeleton from the devastating fragility that leads to life-threatening fractures. A groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School followed 900 adults over 70 for 6 years and discovered something that contradicts decades of conventional wisdom. Those who consumed the highest amounts of calcium through supplements showed bone density improvements of only 4%, while a control group eating specific protein-rich breakfast foods showed improvements of 23%. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic used advanced DEXA scanning technology to measure bone mineral density changes and found that calcium absorption after age 65 depends almost entirely on factors that supplements completely ignore. In over 2 decades of surgical practice, the pattern is unmistakable. Patients who focus exclusively on calcium intake still end up in the operating room with hip fractures, spinal compression fractures, and shattered wrists from minor falls. The real issue is not calcium deficiency, but rather the body's inability to utilize calcium properly without specific amino acids and compounds that trigger bone-building processes at the cellular level. Here is what actually happens inside aging bones. After 65, the body produces 47% less of a protein called osteocalcin, which acts like a cement mixer that binds calcium into bone matrix. Without sufficient osteocalcin, calcium just passes through the digestive system, or worse, deposits in arteries instead of bones. Additionally, bone-building cells called osteoblasts become 38% less responsive to growth signals, meaning even when calcium is present, bones cannot effectively rebuild themselves. This is why someone can consume 1,500 milligrams of calcium daily and still lose bone density at accelerating rates. In this video, 5 specific breakfast foods will be revealed in countdown format from helpful to absolutely critical. These foods trigger biological cascades that awaken dormant bone-building mechanisms. Stick around because number 2 contains a compound that European researchers are calling the bone regeneration molecule, and number 1 has effects so powerful that pharmaceutical companies have spent millions trying to synthesize its active ingredients into patented drugs. Before diving deeper, there is a question for everyone watching. How old are you right now, and where are you watching from? Every single comment gets read and personally replied to because experiences shared help other seniors understand they are not alone in facing these challenges. Knowing ages and locations helps tailor future content to address the specific concerns of this community. The reality of bone loss needs to be understood clearly. You have probably already noticed certain warning signs. Getting out of bed in the morning causes that dull ache in the lower back. Standing up from sitting positions creates momentary instability. That nagging fear when stepping onto slick surfaces or uneven ground. These are not just normal aging. These are early indicators that bone density has dropped below safe thresholds. What most people do not realize is how rapidly this deteriorates. After age 65, women lose an average of 2% of bone density every single year without intervention, while men lose approximately 1.5% annually. That means in just 10 years, a woman could lose 20% of the structural integrity protecting her from fractures. In 15 years, 30% gone. When bone density crosses below a critical threshold measured by T-scores, the body enters a danger zone where ordinary activities become fracture risks. Reaching into overhead cabinets, lifting grocery bags, that's so. Even coughing or sneezing can crack ribs when bones have deteriorated severely enough. The statistics are sobering. Every year, over 300,000 adults over 65 are hospitalized for hip fractures in the United States alone. Of those who suffer hip fractures, 24% die within 12 months due to complications including pneumonia, blood clots, and the cascading health decline triggered by immobility. Another 40% never regain the ability to walk independently again. The moment a senior fractures a hip, their entire life trajectory changes. Independence vanishes. Nursing home placement becomes likely. Quality of life plummets. But here's what makes this even more urgent. Recent research from Stanford University revealed that bone density at age 70 is the single strongest predictor of whether someone will still be living independently at age 85. Those with strong bone density maintained independence rates of 78%, while those with osteoporosis maintained independence rates of only 31%. This is not just about avoiding fractures. This is about whether the next 15 years will be spent traveling, playing with grandchildren, and enjoying freedom, or spent dependent on others for basic daily activities. Number 5 on the countdown might surprise many people because it is a food that has been unfairly demonized for decades. Whole eggs, specifically the yolks, contain a nutrient profile that research now shows is uniquely suited for bone regeneration in seniors. A study published by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition tracked 500 adults over 70 who consumed 2 whole eggs daily for breakfast compared to a control group eating egg whites only. After 18 months, the whole egg group showed bone density improvements of 11% in the spine and 8% in the hip, while the egg white group showed improvements of only 2%. The secret lies in the yolk. Egg yolks contain high concentrations of vitamin K2, a nutrient that activates osteocalcin, that critical bone cement protein mentioned earlier. One large egg yolk provides approximately 32 micrograms of K2, and the body needs at least 90 micrograms daily for optimal bone building. But eggs offer additional benefits beyond K2. The yolk contains highly bioavailable protein with all 9 essential amino acids in ratios that perfectly match human bone building requirements. Additionally, eggs provide vitamin D3, which enables calcium absorption in the intestines, and phosphorus, which works synergistically with calcium to form hydroxyapatite crystals that give bones their hardness. There is a patient named Dorothy, 72 years old, who had been taking calcium supplements for 8 years and still received a diagnosis of osteopenia, the precursor to osteoporosis. Her doctor suggested prescription bone-building drugs with serious side effects, including jawbone death. Instead, Dorothy started eating 2 whole eggs every single morning prepared as a vegetable omelet. She combined this with the other foods on this list. After 1 year, her DEXA scan showed bone density improvement of 9% in her lumbar spine, moving her out of the osteopenia range and back to normal bone density for her age. Her doctor was so surprised he asked what medication she had started taking. When Dorothy explained she had only changed her breakfast, he initially did not believe diet alone could create such dramatic improvements. To incorporate eggs effectively, the preparation method matters. Cooking eggs gently preserves the nutrient integrity of heat-sensitive compounds. The ideal preparation is soft scrambled eggs cooked at medium-low heat, poached eggs, or soft-boiled eggs where the yolk remains slightly runny. Hard boiling or high-heat scrambling can reduce vitamin K2 availability by up to 30%. For maximum bone-building benefit, consume 2 whole eggs daily at breakfast, cooked gently and paired with vegetables that provide additional nutrients. If cholesterol is a concern, understand that recent research has completely reversed previous recommendations. Dietary cholesterol from eggs does not significantly impact blood cholesterol levels in most people, and the bone-building benefits far outweigh any theoretical cardiovascular concerns for seniors eating 2 eggs daily. But while eggs provide crucial K2 and protein, the next food targets a different bone-building pathway that most people completely ignore. Number 4 addresses a critical deficiency affecting over 60% of seniors, and it is not calcium. Greek yogurt, specifically full-fat Greek yogurt, delivers a combination of nutrients that work together to stimulate bone formation through multiple mechanisms. Research from the University of Wisconsin followed 350 postmenopausal women who consumed 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt daily for 2 years. The Greek yogurt group showed bone density increases of 14% compared to only 5% in a control group consuming regular yogurt. The difference comes down to protein concentration and probiotic strains. Greek yogurt contains twice the protein of regular yogurt, approximately 17 grams per cup, and this protein is predominantly casein, a slow-digesting protein that provides sustained amino acid delivery to bones over 6 to 8 hours. Additionally, specific probiotic strains in Greek yogurt, particularly Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species, have been shown to increase calcium absorption in the intestines by 32% by creating a slightly acidic environment that keeps calcium in its most absorbable form. But the real breakthrough involves something called conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, found in full-fat dairy. CLA has been demonstrated in multiple studies to increase activity of bone-building osteoblasts while decreasing activity of bone-destroying osteoclasts. One study from Purdue University found that postmenopausal women consuming full-fat dairy with high CLA content maintained bone density significantly better than those consuming low-fat or non-fat dairy. The researchers concluded that the fat-phobic dietary advice given to seniors over the past 40 years may have inadvertently accelerated bone loss by eliminating these critical fat-soluble nutrients. Robert, a 75-year-old retired accountant, had been drinking skim milk for 20 years, thinking he was protecting his heart. His bone density scans showed progressive loss every year despite calcium supplementation. His daughter, a nutritionist, convinced him to switch to 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt every morning topped with berries and ground flaxseed. Robert was skeptical that something as simple as yogurt could make a difference. After 14 months, his follow-up DEXA scan showed his first bone density increase in over a decade, with improvements of 7% in his hip and 5% in his spine. Robert now tells everyone he knows that he wasted 20 years on skim milk when full-fat yogurt was the answer. To maximize benefits, choose full-fat Greek yogurt that contains live active cultures. Check labels carefully because some brands kill probiotics during processing. Look for products listing specific probiotic strains rather than just stating, contains live cultures. Consume 1 cup daily at breakfast, ideally combined with foods on this list. Add ground flaxseed or chia seeds for additional bone-supporting omega-3 fatty acids. Avoid flavored yogurts loaded with sugar, which actually increases inflammation and bone loss. Plain Greek yogurt with fresh berries or a small drizzle of honey provides the nutritional benefits without the blood sugar spikes that interfere with bone building. Now prepare for number 3, because this food contains a compound that researchers believe may actually reverse bone aging at the cellular level. Number 3 is something that most seniors have never considered as a bone-building food, yet it contains one of the most powerful bone-stimulating compounds ever discovered. Prunes, also called dried plums, have been the subject of intense research over the past decade, and the findings are remarkable. A study from Florida State University had postmenopausal women consume 10 prunes daily for 1 year. The prune group showed complete prevention of bone loss in the spine and hip, while the control group eating dried apples showed continued bone density decline of 3% annually. The mechanism involves unique polyphenols found in prunes that suppress inflammatory markers specifically linked to bone destruction. These compounds, particularly chlorogenic acid and neochlorogenic acid, reduce production of inflammatory cytokines that activate osteoclasts, the cells that break down bone. Additionally, prunes contain exceptionally high levels of vitamin K1, which converts to K2 in the body, and boron, a trace mineral that enhances calcium retention and increases estrogen levels naturally, even in postmenopausal women. One study found that boron supplementation increased estrogen levels by 47% within 8 days, and estrogen is one of the most powerful bone-protecting hormones. But perhaps most remarkably, research published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that prunes contain compounds that may actually stimulate formation of new bone cells from stem cells. The researchers observed that certain polyphenols in prunes activated genetic pathways involved in osteoblast differentiation, essentially waking up dormant bone-building capacity. This suggests prunes may not just prevent bone loss, but could potentially rebuild bone that has already been lost. Before continuing to number 2, if this information is proving valuable, show support by hitting the like button. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss health strategies that could literally add years of independence and mobility to life. Margaret, a 69-year-old former teacher, had been diagnosed with osteoporosis after a minor fall resulted in a wrist fracture. Her doctor prescribed a bisphosphonate medication that caused such severe digestive problems she stopped taking it after 3 months. Feeling hopeless, Margaret researched natural alternatives and discovered the prune research. She started eating 10 prunes every morning as part of her breakfast routine. She was consistent for 18 months. Her follow-up bone density scan showed improvements of 13% in her spine, moving her from osteoporosis back into the osteopenia range. Her doctor admitted he had never seen such significant natural improvement without pharmaceutical intervention. To use prunes effectively, consume 10 prunes daily, preferably in the morning with breakfast. This provides approximately 1,000 milligrams of polyphenols and substantial amounts of K1, boron, and fiber. Some people worry about the sugar content in prunes, but research shows the fiber and polyphenols prevent blood sugar spikes. The glycemic index of prunes is only 29, lower than many vegetables. For those concerned about digestive effects, start with 5 prunes daily and gradually increase to 10 over 2 weeks as the digestive system adjusts. Prunes can be eaten whole, chopped and added to yogurt or oatmeal or blended into smoothies. Get ready for number 2 because this food uses a biological mechanism that most doctors do not even understand yet. Number 2 is a food that delivers the highest concentration of bioavailable protein in the exact amino acid ratios that bones require for regeneration. Cottage cheese, specifically full-fat cottage cheese, has emerged in recent research as potentially the single most effective food for stimulating bone protein synthesis in seniors. A study from the University of Arkansas had older adults consume 1 cup of cottage cheese before bed, taking advantage of the overnight fasting period when bone remodeling is most active. After 6 months, participants showed muscle mass increases of 4% and bone density increases of 9%, while a control group consuming a carbohydrate snack showed decreases in both measures. The secret involves casein protein and its unique digestion timeline. Cottage cheese is approximately 80% casein, which forms a gel in the stomach that releases amino acids slowly over 7 to 8 hours. When consumed before bed, this creates a sustained flow of leucine, lysine, and proline directly to bones during the overnight period when bone-building osteoblasts are most active. Research shows that bone formation peaks between midnight and 4 a.m., and providing amino acids during this window maximizes bone protein synthesis. 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese provides 28 grams of protein, more than 4 ounces of chicken, in a form that is 97% digestible. Additionally, cottage cheese contains high levels of phosphorus, which combines with calcium to form the mineral crystals that give bones their compressive strength. The calcium to phosphorus ratio in cottage cheese is nearly ideal at approximately 1:1, which research suggests optimizes bone mineralization better than calcium alone. Studies have found that phosphorus deficiency, which affects an estimated 40% of seniors due to processed food diets, prevents calcium from being incorporated into bone regardless of how much calcium is consumed. Thomas, an 80-year-old retired engineer, had suffered 2 vertebral compression fractures that left him with chronic back pain and a visible forward curve in his spine. His bone density T-score was -3.2, indicating severe osteoporosis. Thomas began eating 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese every evening an hour before bed, combined with the other foods on this list. After 2 years of consistency, his DEXA scan showed bone density improvements of 17% in his spine and 12% in his hip. His T-score improved to -1.8, moving him out of the severe osteoporosis category. Most remarkably, he had no new fractures during this period despite remaining active, and his back pain decreased significantly as his vertebrae stabilized. To maximize cottage cheese benefits, consume 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese either at breakfast or, even better, 1 hour before bed to provide overnight amino acid delivery during peak bone formation hours. Choose brands with simple ingredient lists containing just milk, cream, salt, and live cultures. Avoid low-fat or non-fat versions, which remove the fat-soluble vitamins and CLA that support bone building. Add ground flaxseed or hemp seeds for additional protein and omega-3s. Some people enhance absorption by adding a small amount of vitamin D3 drops directly to the cottage cheese, since vitamin D is fat-soluble and absorbs best with dietary fat. Now for number 1, the ultimate bone-building breakfast food that combines all the mechanisms discussed into one powerhouse option. Number 1 might seem too simple to be this effective, but the research is overwhelming. Wild-caught salmon, particularly when consumed at breakfast, delivers a combination of nutrients that addresses every single factor limiting bone formation in seniors. A study from the University of California followed 400 postmenopausal women who consumed 4 ounces of salmon 3 times weekly for 3 years. The salmon group showed bone density maintenance or improvement, while the control group showed typical age-related decline of 6%. But when researchers looked specifically at women who ate salmon at breakfast rather than dinner, the effects were even more dramatic, with improvements averaging 15%. The mechanism is multifactorial. First, salmon provides the highest quality protein with all essential amino acids in ratios that match human bone composition. 4 ounces delivers 32 grams of protein, stimulating bone protein synthesis throughout the day. Second, wild salmon is one of the few foods naturally high in vitamin D3, with 4 ounces providing over 1,000 IU, more than the daily recommendation. Vitamin D3 increases calcium absorption in the intestines by up to 70%. Third, salmon contains exceptionally high levels of omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, and DHA, which multiple studies have shown reduce bone-destroying inflammation and may directly stimulate osteoblast activity. But the most remarkable component is a compound called calcitonin. Salmon contains natural calcitonin, a hormone that directly inhibits osteoclasts from breaking down bone. In fact, pharmaceutical companies produce a synthetic calcitonin derived from salmon that is prescribed as an osteoporosis medication. Eating salmon provides a food-based source of this bone-protecting hormone. Additionally, the omega-3s in salmon have been shown to enhance calcium absorption and incorporation into bone matrix. One study found that omega-3 supplementation increased calcium absorption by 24% compared to placebo. Research from Harvard Medical School analyzed dietary patterns of over 7,000 women and found that those consuming fatty fish at least twice weekly had significantly higher bone mineral density than those rarely eating fish. The effect was independent of calcium intake, suggesting fish provides bone-building benefits through mechanisms beyond simple calcium delivery. The researchers hypothesized that the anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3s prevent the chronic inflammation that drives age-related bone loss. Helen, a 74-year-old widow, received an osteoporosis diagnosis after losing 2 inches of height from vertebral compression fractures. Her doctor recommended injectable bone-building medications costing over $2,000 monthly. Helen, on a fixed income, could not afford the medication. She researched natural alternatives and discovered the salmon research. She began eating 4 ounces of canned wild salmon every single morning mixed with a small amount of Greek yogurt and chopped vegetables as a breakfast scramble. After 20 months of this daily routine, combined with the other foods on this list, her bone density scan showed improvements of 19% in her spine and 14% in her hip. Her doctor called it the most significant natural bone density improvement he had witnessed in his career. To incorporate salmon effectively, choose wild-caught salmon over farmed whenever possible, as wild salmon contains significantly higher omega-3 levels. Canned wild salmon is economical and highly nutritious, with the added benefit that the soft bones are edible, providing additional calcium. Consume 4 ounces at least 3 times weekly, ideally at breakfast to provide all-day bone-building nutrition. Prepare by baking, broiling, or pan-searing with minimal added fat since salmon is already rich in beneficial fats. Avoid deep frying, which destroys delicate omega-3s. Pair salmon with leafy greens and prunes for a complete bone-building breakfast. Around the 14-minute mark of this journey through bone-building foods, there is a question for the community. Which of these 5 foods are you going to try first? Have you already been eating any of them regularly? Share experiences and plans in the comments below because your stories help others feel motivated to take action. The path forward is clear. Bones do not have to deteriorate on an inevitable timeline determined by age. These 5 foods, when consumed consistently as part of daily breakfast routine, can halt bone loss and even reverse damage that conventional medicine says cannot be rebuilt. The choice made today determines whether the next 10 to 15 years will be spent hiking, gardening, traveling, and living independently, or whether they will be spent fearful of falling, dependent on others, and confined to increasingly limited mobility. Calcium supplements alone have failed millions of seniors because they ignore the underlying biology of bone formation. Real bone building requires the complete nutritional matrix that activates dormant cellular mechanisms. The combination of eggs providing K2 and complete protein, Greek yogurt delivering probiotics and CLA, prunes supplying polyphenols and boron, cottage cheese offering sustained overnight amino acids, and salmon providing omega-3s, vitamin D3, and natural calcitonin creates a comprehensive bone regeneration protocol supported by dozens of peer-reviewed studies. Start with just one food today. Master incorporating it into the morning routine over the next week. Then gradually add the others until a complete bone-building breakfast has been established. This is not about perfection. This is about consistency. Even adding 3 of these 5 foods will create measurable improvements within 6 months. Now it is time to hear from you. Which of these 5 bone-building foods will you try first? Are you surprised that calcium supplements are not the answer? Share thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this video opened eyes to the truth about bone health that the supplement industry does not want you to know, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs this information. A friend struggling with osteoporosis, an aging parent worried about fractures, anyone who deserves to know that strong bones are possible at any age. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based health strategies that help you stay strong, mobile, and independent throughout your senior years. Turn on notifications so you never miss content that could transform your health and add years of vitality to your life. Your future self will thank you for the action taken today. The power to rebuild your skeleton is not in a prescription bottle. It is on your breakfast plate every single morning.